Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports Podcast. I'm your host, Josh, SalvationsElite. To my right is Bash_Bo3 Sam, and to our farthest right per usual is the one and only Rex, ShadyNero. And guys, like I always say, we got a lot to talk about today. It's been an exciting week of news, obviously with some interesting potential moves happening in the CDL. #Parasite. I can't believe Rex isn't wearing his shirt today. And we're going to be talking some Challengers stuff. We're going to be talking the Challengers Elite Series Qualifiers. And we're talking the top 10 most underrated players in the Call of Duty League. We're going to be going through some of those guys, and that's going to be a fun conversation as well. I'm very much looking forward to it. Before we get anything else, guys, I've got to ask, boys, what is going on?
Well, Josh, I am feeling like an alchemist, and I'm just brewing up these potions, right? And I come up with this potion
of invisibility
that makes you fly. And and everyone knows nobody can actually fly, but I'm an evil alchemist, and I'm convincing everyone this potion will make you fly. And what do? I give it to somebody, and somebody buys it for me, and I'm making major bank. He takes the potion, and he jumps, and guess what?
He flies.
He flies. My plans have been foiled. And you know why?
Okay.
Because he was a god by the name of Illy.
Wow. Sam, did you take the evil potion?
They sure didn't.
Not yet? No, that's a shame.
That was a really cool, I
did like that one.
What do you call that? Like a twist.
Yeah,
twist.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Guys, we got a lot to talk about today, man. Obviously, you can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can watch on YouTube, drop a comment on YouTube, and you can drop a review on Apple Podcasts.
You sure can.
You can drop some really spicy reviews on Apple Podcasts. And today, Sam is going to read it. What you got for us?
Here's a fun one.
Oh, okay.
Titled The Best Podcast by Lacots.
Okay. How many stars?
5.
Of course.
I like it.
I wouldn't be reading it if it wasn't
of course
5.
not.
Downloaded DraftBuff. Because I heard the talk about it. Heard you guys talk about it on the podcast.
Okay.
Joined the Draft Royale and picked up Neptune, who I said
your boy
was a good value.
Uh-huh.
Picked up Neptune because I think he performed fairly well at the Kickoff Classic.
Heck yeah.
He performed very well.
Wait, so you're telling me he downloaded DraftBuff?
DraftBuff.
Wow. Wait, was that the end of it?
Yeah, it was the end of it.
Oh. You're telling me he downloaded DraftBuff? Because I think that maybe, just maybe, today's episode is sponsored by DraftBuff, dude.
Wow.
Let's go. They're back at it again. And we got an exciting announcement today. So that wasn't actually planned. Someone just happened to say that review, and we had 2 reviews to choose. And let's just say we chose that one because it fit in too well today.
Sure
we got an exciting announcement today, as Rex already exploded over there. We are doing a listener league.
Yes.
And so if you guys have ever wanted to hop in the ring with us, you know, obviously we're Dustin Poirier, you're Conor McGregor, because we're going to beat the crap out of you.
Jeez.
Because we are doing a community league, which means you can enter in to play in a season-long 8-player draft league season on DraftBuff with us. So obviously, if you don't know what DraftBuff is, it's like fantasy football, but for Call of Duty. And so you can sign up in the link down below in the description or in the pinned comment. You can sign up on DraftBuff, and how you enter to join this league. We're going to be doing our draft next week. Not on the podcast. It's going to be actually a video on the channel.
Yes.
Which is going to be pretty exciting. So it'll be a video on the channel. And how you join is you go to Twitter.
Yes.
All right. You go to Twitter and you tweet #Bo3 Listener League.
Yep.
You've got to be following DraftBuff. You got to be following Bash_Bo3. You got to be following Rex, ShadyNero, and myself.
Yep.
And then how we're going to be choosing them is 3 people will be chosen at random who tweet that hashtag and are following all of us. And then 2 people will be chosen by their creativity. Okay. So you can basically submit in any way. You could submit a video. You could submit a tweet, a really fun tweet, a poem, a research paper, a full-length movie, whatever you want to submit, you can submit, and we'll choose 2 based off of the most creative, funny, interesting, awesome submissions to join, and then 3 will be chosen at random as well. So if you want to try your luck, you could double your odds by doing both.
Yeah.
So with that said, pretty exciting, man. Shout out DraftBuff. They also have draft royales, and you can also join to compete against us in that. It's a season-long event as well. Obviously, with the listener league, there will be a prize at the end for the 8, for one of us 3, because one of us 3 are going to win, obviously. But I mean, maybe one of you guys can get lucky and win it as well.
Just maybe.
But it should be a blast. So again, head to Twitter. There will be a pinned tweet also on our profile talking about it as well. So check that out. And there's also another tweet about the entries. There's a whole bunch of giveaways we're doing here. So we got 2 giveaways we're announcing next week for the winners. So it's a whole confusing thing. But our most recent tweet will be about the listener league, and our pinned tweet is about the giveaway that we're doing for the CDL merch. So there's a lot going on the Twitter.
It's crazy.
And today our question is about draft or fantasy COD overall is what a draft strategy debate. And so on DraftBuff, how they do it is that there is no flex position because they just do SMGs and ARs and utility players.
Yeah.
So in a normal league, you can kind of choose when you want to take that AR. Obviously, in an 8-team league, there's 4 ARs who could, in theory, go undrafted. Obviously, some end up getting taken because of flex positions or utility positions. I'm sorry, and stuff. So, what are your guys' opinions on are ARs overvalued, undervalued in DraftBuff? What are your thoughts?
So, I guess the question is when do you take your main AR, right?
Basically,
and
of course.
So, it depends on what you see as the skill gap between the ARs
and the point gap.
And I guess the point gap. But that's where it gets tough because you really can only pick one main AR.
Right.
Yes.
And you have the ability to go and take a guy who normally plays flex or an SMG as your other utility. So you really don't need to take 2 ARs. So that's and generally the thing about this COD though is that so far we've seen that S&D really has been valuable for ARs. With the maps and how they play, think about checkmate and how many kills happen on Garrison in the middle with ARs. It is interesting. So I don't know. I mean, anyway, Rex.
I mean, if it were me, if I was in the beginning portion, if I was in the first 4 to pick, I would be, I'd pick in your Simps, your BZs, these high moneymaker Shotsies, high moneymaker submachine gun players. And then if I was near the end of it, I would try and grab a really good main AR.
One of the top 3, an RCD Skies or Formal.
Yeah, RCD Skies, Formal, or in Octane, depends where he's at right now.
Naturally.
And so personally, I usually pick my AR in either in the first pick or second pick, depending on where I'm at, where I'm picking. If I'm near the end, I start picking ARs earlier just because if you can snag one of those, because I feel the skill gap between main ARs, your top 4 are your top 4 and you're going to be your money makers. Then after that, you have a lot of other people who can gain a lot more points than these other ARs could.
Yeah, I agree. Sam, thoughts?
Yeah, see, I feel like the 3rd round is a sweet spot for me because
no matter where you're drafting. Because if you're the 8th pick, you're not picking for a long time until the 3rd round.
That is true.
So there are some thoughts.
You're not getting a Simp. You're not getting a BZ or Shot. You're not getting any of these big baller players.
In my mind, I was thinking a 4-person draft. I kind of forgot about an 8-person draft.
Yeah.
So if you're doing an 8-person draft, I'd probably do it 2nd round, honestly.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even know about that.
Yeah, well, because the main reason is there's there's a set amount of ARs, right? And even your top 4 ARs, I don't know, to me it's more beneficial to go after the heavy high
upside
points
SMGs and
flexes. Because there's no reason to take more than 1 AR. You want to get those top SMGs because there's clearly a gap between some of those SMGs and flexes.
It does depend on the role that AR is playing though, because it's the ARs who really stick. I mean, S&D is kind of an X factor in DraftBuff. So if you can get those ARs who really do play well in S&D, that could be the difference for you. So I don't know. I'm more inclined to say you definitely want to value the SMGs and flexes more, but there could be an alternate strategy hidden in there somehow where you could go heavy on ARs and actually actually like flip the script on the rest of the league, that'd be kind of interesting. But
that would be interesting, actually.
Use it to like leverage power for like trade and stuff. Maybe.
Yeah, if you snag, like, I mean, if you hit a home run on the top 2 ARs, I mean, that'd be pretty big. But yeah,
well,
so
plus you're taking away from these guys who are picking like in the top 4 because they're gonna get like those really good SMG players. But you don't want to give them a really good AR player either.
Yeah, that's
like,
the thing.
To have both of them, it's like they have the best AR and the best sub in the game right now. You just don't want somebody to have that kind of power.
Yeah, I agree. So it is tough, and that's why it'll be fun. So next week we'll be announcing the winners, and then we'll be doing our draft probably hopefully like the following day or two, and then getting that video up on the YouTube channel, and then the CoD League starts. So it's going to be a marathon here. So shout out DraftBuff. You'll be hearing a lot more about them in the coming few weeks as well on the channel and on the podcast. So man, it's worth signing up. It really is a blast, and it's a good place to create community, invite your friends to play. So overall, shout out DraftBuff. Thanks for supporting the show. And guys, I think with that said, I think we can get right into our news this week and make it happen. So let's go.
The Call of Duty News of the Week.
Oh boy.
Hey.
Oh boy. So interesting week of news.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like a lot of the high profile news.
No.
But there definitely was some very interesting news all around the board. So honestly, I think we should start off with the Parasite news, because today, I mean, the last few days, this is pretty exciting. I mean, we weren't sure how this was going to potentially play out, but you know, the rumors started breaking that Parasite might just be on the London Royal Ravens because Zero has been having connection issues because he's still stuck in the UK because of COVID, and here we are. So now Parasite has been scrimming with the Ravens, and it's been very, very interesting. We've seen him scrimming against OpTic today, and Parasite was in there, and they played decent, to say the least. Yeah. So, I mean, overall, thoughts on Parasite potentially being on London? What are your aspects on this roster? What are the effects of it? Rex, lead the way. It's your boy.
I mean, my first question is, you have the AR debate, Parasite and Shawnee, Shawnee's been that main AR for that team. Are they having Parasite flex? And I know some teams run 2 ARs.
Yeah.
And do you think that's going to work out for the Ravens? And I don't know. And I feel like seeing Parasite in scrims, I don't think he's actually doing bad on the team. I think he's a valuable player. I feel like he's doing better than some of the other players. And they held their own. Like, they put up a fight, at least against OpTic. It wasn't like a total blowout like you would expect.
Right.
I feel like it could be beneficial. I feel like replacing Zero, though, even though they have no choice, Zero, I feel like, was a really good player for that squad. And even in that CDL kickoff, Zero, with the bad ping, was still playing better than some of his other teammates were playing.
Which
it's
means
he's playing
man.
really well. So it's like, we're getting rid of Zero.
They also did really
call.
struggle in S&D in kickoff, so maybe that's where Parasite can quickly like get him into shape there in that regard. They looked really bad in S&D against Paras, so that could be interesting. I mean, with how much S&D Parasite's played versus what they've probably played this season so far, so that's an interesting aspect. Sam?
Yeah, no, I am curious to see. In regards to roles, I would expect my mic is moving like crazy here. Sorry.
Good.
Roles, I feel like I do see Parasite playing the 74U a lot. It's like, I feel like he wouldn't be okay giving Shawnee that main AR role.
Right.
And then just playing that flex. But I just so badly wanted Parasite to be in the league. This is awesome. But I think you're so right though, Rex. Like, Zero shouldn't be the guy that is replaced by a Parasite. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a weird situation.
It's weird.
I mean, it's surprising that when Zero goes out, that Parasite was the guy they called. I mean, obviously we heard the rumors that
is weird to me.
We heard the rumors that it was Paul X originally, and then who's the next guy out after Paul X? Apparently Parasite. So that is definitely interesting. I'm not. It's a little weird because, like, what if? Okay, so let's say Parasite played to this team for, I don't know, 6 weeks, and then COVID restrictions are a little bit loosened in the UK, and Zero can get to the United States. What do you do?
I mean, depends how well they're playing.
How well do they need to play for Zero to get back in? Or
how bad?
Yeah.
How bad did
yes,
play?
yeah. Either way, yeah.
Well, I feel like it'll hit a certain point where it's like, is Parasite helping more? And who's like the bigger, like, it's just going to be another question of who's the detriment to the team now. If Parasite's not that detriment, they'll pick somebody else. Because Zero, he can play a sub. I honestly, Zero feels like a more reliable flex than Parasite would be. And so if he can flex, he can probably sub. And I'm looking at Dylan or Alex. If they're not performing well, Zero could step in there. Or even taking Shawnee's role and Parasite being upgraded to just the main AR, where I think Parasite excels more.
Right. Yeah. I mean, having that fifth player there like does give them some flexibility to like to shift things around and experiment if they want to. You know, so that'll be really interesting if that gets to a point where Zero can come back a little bit sooner than when they originally thought. And then suddenly you're like, oh, what's going to happen here?
What do you do?
Yeah, that's tough. But I mean, overall, does your opinion on London change much right now? Or like where are you at with them? Because we talked about them last week a little bit and we definitely weren't very optimistic about London in the short term. But
no, I don't think it changes much right now for me.
Okay.
Maybe seeing, if we see their S&D improve, by a ton and they can take both S&Ds off and then maybe one hard point, maybe they could start, winning game 5s, that kind of thing. But right now there isn't like much of more of an upside than, having Zero in there. But
could you imagine this team suddenly just starts dominating though? That'd be crazy.
If that's the case, and then, Parasite was like the piece that put them all together.
He's got the magic touch.
I mean, then that's awesome.
I mean, that's what I'm looking at Parasite here now is like, if this team improves like a decent amount, it just proves that like Parasite may not be like the flashiest player, but he knows how to organize a team and get everybody on the same page so they're all working together.
Yeah.
It'll just be like
let's see. He does that in challengers. Let's see if that translates to the Pro League. And I don't know. Raven's a big question mark for me right now. I don't know what to think.
Huge question mark, man. I don't know, man. It is really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to believe in the roster, but I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that they have the slaying power necessary to beat any top 6 team right now.
Yeah.
Right.
They're gonna need to be like last year's Rokkr at the beginning, like not really heavy on slaying, but they like figure out the game somehow. But then like there you go is like will they figure out more than OpTic has already or FaZe has already? It would
require Dylan and Alex to just ball out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. They play. Good news for them is they play Seattle as their first match in Atlanta for the opening weekend. So
it's a good matchup.
Good matchup for them. Yeah. And they only play one match, so they have time to like get into the groove of things in their first week, and then they follow it up with New York in their second match. And then Dallas. So they could win 2 of their first 3. I mean, tough to give them Dallas. But yeah, at least they have a good chance in their first 2. So they could be off to a decent start.
They have that incremental climb where it's like, I mean, in my opinion, I have like Surge and then New York where it's like, those are 2 teams where it's like, you start with Surge, who are going to be the easier one, and then you go to Subliners, who are going to be a little bit harder, but it's like the right amount of harder where you're just going to be getting better from it.
Right.
Dallas is just not going to happen, but hopefully it's a good learning experience.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Maybe they'll surprise us.
No, there is potential for surprise with the roster, but it's hard to get too excited about it at this point without seeing a little bit more COD. I mean, again, today OpTic scrimmed and they smoked the Mutineers, and then London hung in there a lot closer than the Mutineers did. So I mean, if that means something. Again, it's always hard to tell with scrims and how that plays out, but. Sometimes
Ravens are going to win off of brain power. I think Ravens are not going to be like FaZe last year where they can just bull rush into everything. And definitely not. Just retake. They have to win off of like sheer strategy and brain power that they have.
Yeah,
which I think they could be a team that's very, very smart. Yeah, it's just can they execute that smartness?
And then will they listen to Parasite and not and be okay with his tone of voice being a little bit less than pleasant, because I know that
Alex, what did I say?
Start breakdown crying.
Yeah, no, that's what gets me excited. I mean, talk about interested. That's an understatement to say the least with this team now. And definitely pulling for him. That'll be an absolute blast.
It'd be cool to see.
I have to buy me some London Royal Ravens in-game skins when they come out.
Yeah.
Get hyped behind that one. But you were rocking the London Royal Ravens skins last year.
I was. I thought they had the best colors.
There you go, dude. See, you never know. I'm sure we'll talk more about them a little bit later, though. In other news, we can start from the top here, I guess. Interesting stuff from the YouTube side of things. YouTube finally announced that they're launching clip features for streaming on YouTube, which has been a desperately needed feature for so long on the YouTube streaming side of things. And so hopefully, we don't know for sure yet if CoD League is going to get it, but I'd imagine they will. And so we should have clips for the CoD League coming here soon, which will be an absolute blast finally to have back. That'd be great. So that was a fun thing. I mean, that got me pretty excited to hear FaZe announced it from the YouTube gaming side of things. And I mean, again, it's been a beyond needed feature for the CD for just YouTube in general for a long time. So slowly but
another
surely.
step in catching up with Twitch and what Twitch has over there. But like just clips is going to be a big thing for YouTube.
Oh, it's
now
so
just
needed.
Make live feeds more accessible.
Yeah, they need to have their own tab.
Yeah,
with their own search bar, like with own like. Yeah, I don't know why it's so tough right now. Yeah. It still feels like a year or two away to be like reasonable on YouTube. I think so too. That shows the upside though, is that there's still guys on YouTube who are pulling insane viewership streaming when it still is so cluttered and not like logical. So pretty crazy. In other news again, this week we're getting the merch reveals, which is relating back to our giveaway. So we are officially getting the Season 2, the Cold War, the 2021 CDL merch reveals for teams. The Rokkr and LAG already put out their new jerseys and their new hoodies and stuff. Looking pretty good. I think it looks sick. The Rokkr stuff, the LAG stuff. I was a little bit more impressed with the Rokkr stuff, personally. Thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the Rokkr stuff looked pretty fresh. Both looked like a nice refresher, Yeah. But the Rokkr had a little bit more flavor to it, I would say.
Yeah.
A little more style.
Thank goodness we have like unique designs this year. What were they thinking? I mean, it must have been like a streamlining thing last year.
It had to have been. Like, they didn't quite know what to do. So they said, all right, everyone's got the same thing. Okay, whatever.
Oh, man, they're way nicer now than they've ever been. Like, any of these would be the best that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I will say the LA Guerillas one, it's like they went with purple and white, but the one in their video that was like the, I don't know, thumbnail of their video of it, where it was like like half was purple, half was white. That was one that looked coolest to me, honestly.
Yeah, dude.
But they don't have one like that. It's either purple or white with the logo, and they still look nice, and I still like them. But the one where it's a mixture of both, that one was. I hope they put that one out because that's
an alternate jersey. Yeah, that'd be sick. No, I agree. Cool. I'm excited to see what other ones we end up seeing here in the next few days. I mean, supposedly there's a lineup of them coming out in the next few days, so. It only makes sense. Again, next Monday we'll double announce. So we'll double announce the winners of the Listener League, which if you missed that segment from a second ago, go check out the Listener League segment. Yeah. And then we'll announce the winners of our jersey or our merch giveaway from the Twitter as well. So that should be a blast. Moving on to other things. Fastballer said he might be retiring / coaching here if things keep going the way they are right now. Which is a little bit weird of a thing, but Fastball's been in the scene forever. And so he was basically like, yo, like, let me know if any top teams need a coach. 75% thinking I'm done scrimming all day, trying to play in this community, but I'm just hit offline, plays in top 64. And then he called out noisy, and it's been tough. So there's a chance Fastballer retires, which is interesting. He's been a legend in the scene. And then now GAs. We're back to the GA debate. I mean, see, basically every week there's some sort of new aspect to talk about. And the whispers of an XM4 GA, the pros haven't seemed, to be at that point yet. Yeah. But, some of the guys were like, yo, like Bids tweeted about it, like, yo, can we get the XM4 GA'd yet? And then, I doubt it's going to happen, but.
No way. There's no way. If it does, that would be it would be so overkill. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's fun to see the difference between some people using the Krig for certain areas of the map or just like certain maps in general versus the XM4.
Although it kind of feels like the XM4 is just taking over.
It does seem like a little bit more of the do-it-all gun, but I still think there are certain situations where the Krig does, outshine, which is fun to watch. I don't want it to be this just 2-gun meta where it's setting for you and XM4. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like seeing multiple guns. So
Yeah, I guess
I do too.
people are a little bit worried that the XM4 is just going to take over as the god gun again. We're going to be back to a 2-gun meta, but I feel like it might be inevitable at this point with how with how all the attachments work. I mean, I just don't see how you have a 3-gun meta when you can put basically any attachment on any gun to do it what you need it to do, and make it play faster if you need it to play faster and everything. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But yeah. So in other things, Kismet thinks that the AM community should go back to play on PS4.
Yeah.
PS5.
No, PS4, because and not everybody can get a PS5.
But they can get PCs. Okay.
Well, yeah, but PS5s aren't. You can't get them right now. So he was like,
okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So Kismet was like, dude, like, what in the world, man? Like, with no anti-cheat, he's like, bro, the only way to actually fix this is to go back to PS4. I don't necessarily know if that's the best play, but at this point, since we're already committed to PC, and you might just have to deal with the crap at this point. I don't know. Thoughts?
Which does suck though. Like, I get like where he's coming from is
it sucks
to like not know for sure that someone you're playing is not cheating,
and you're losing to guys that you didn't know existed a year ago.
Exactly. Like, that would be such a hard pill to swallow when you're in the league last year, playing and like you were getting consistent pay and everything. Now you're in the grinder pit and just
top 32-ish.
You could be playing against cheaters and nothing would happen. Like, there's no repercussions besides when they start streaming it or whatever, and they got to turn off their cheats, whatever it is.
Yeah, dude,
it's just crazy. It's super unfortunate. So I do feel bad for Kismet. Some of those guys will probably never be able to like shine like when they're consistently being top 32 and just playing cheaters. But I feel like the only fix is to release an anti-cheat.
Yeah, they ended up finishing top 8, which isn't ideal.
Not bad, but
not bad. No, definitely not. But
I mean, here's the thing: like these other esports leagues, I mean, they have hackers in every game, but
for sure,
I don't think we should switch off a PC. Like, that's just going to be the way it is now. But I don't know, why does COD have such a big problem with it, while like every other game also has these hackers? We've heard about it in CS, even at the highest level. Overwatch has them.
It's just that those games have a little bit better ways to actually like confirm if a player is cheating, where COD just doesn't have some of the anti-cheat like systems in place to actually identify the cheaters as effectively as like CS and other games do right now. So I think that's the biggest issue that people have.
Which is interesting. Does Overwatch have one?
I mean, I feel like every game has some sort of level of anti-cheat.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's hackers in Overwatch too.
Yeah. No. I was gonna say, because like if they're both owned by Blizzard, like why wouldn't you just
by Activision?
Activision Blizzard.
But I will say this with Overwatch: when you report someone who you think's hacking, you get a response later on whether something happened to that person.
Yeah, that
is
interesting. That definitely does not happen in COD. Barely happens on GBs.
You don't hear anything about that, so at least you know something's happened, and maybe that's a problem in COD, because a lot of COD, like people calling hackers, it's speculation, and we can say like they're definitely hacking, but like you just never know.
No.
And COD being the community is, if they lose, people tend to just be like hacks.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do agree that it's probably a little bit overblown compared to what it actually is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like
there's those videos that you see where it's like, there's no way.
I've definitely seen some of those videos.
He's pre-aiming that perfectly. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. That's the thing. So it is tough. And that's what this, like, I mean, I know for a fact I'd be sketched. I mean, I get sketched in GBs half the time nowadays, because it's just like,
I get sketched in pubs. Something happens to my
yeah, I know, dude. Like, what in the world, bro? Like, that's what scares me about it for sure. So, it's a tough situation.
I think it'll get better in time. I think.
Oh, I agree.
Next COD is going to be a little bit better, if not totally better.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate for those guys that are dealing with that right now, where it's like they can't really get a living off it right now, like Kismet.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Again, some other random things. There was the whole Neptune ATS thing that like went down in like pros.
There's like 8 pros in his
chat
stream, like telling them to check.
Show your settings. Show your settings. And then apparently, he claims that his stream went down.
Yeah.
That like it just like lagged out.
Yeah. The one saving grace was his teammate said like this has happened multiple times where his power just goes out.
Yeah. So. It might have been horribly unfortunate timing.
Everyone calls him out. Power goes out. Like, oh no.
If that was the case, that's extremely unfortunate. But like Crim was in there and a whole bunch of other guys were in there. Ask him like, yo, show your settings, bro. I mean, it was just weird because it's like people completely overblew it, I feel like. I mean, yes, to an extent, ATS in this game is going to help you, but it's no means as effective as it was in Modern Warfare. So
yeah,
people made this a big old thing, but I'm just like, I don't know, bro. I just really don't care.
Yeah, I think it's just a thing where he's a new kid on the block. He outperformed everyone's expectations, and people were just like, all right, let's just check him.
This is the awakening situation last year.
I think so. Yeah. But like, I saw someone in the comments though say like he pretty much after every single match now shows his settings. Like after every single map, I'm like, that sucks, but. I mean, if he's proven him wrong, that's awesome. But
I mean, I respect it. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, the ATS this early in the game isn't going to be the reason why you were playing well, But that was an interesting one to say the least.
Yeah.
So, in the hype news, the hype aspect, Formal is gassing himself up on the timeline, saying it was his best COD since IW.
Crazy.
Which, I mean, is that really saying much? I mean, we all know that World War II wasn't his best COD. No. We all know that Black Ops 4 wasn't his best COD.
No.
But, I mean, so far he's looked really good. So the question is, it's like, can OpTic keep it up? Obviously, is what we're going to have to talk about more in the next week or so. And they've looked very good. I mean, since the last few days, they've looked improved and looked really good in scrims today against the Mutineers. Looked good in scrims 2 days ago as well. So they've been impressive to say the least. Thoughts on Formal, Sam?
I mean, Formal is just
H4F.
H4F, baby. He's just so good. I mean, how do you deny him?
You gonna get those emotes?
Oh,
did you see that tweet about
I did.
The emotes? Dude, what in the world?
Just amazing. Formal is
what's the silhouette of his? Did you catch the end of that tweet?
That
no, that was the end of that tweet, dude. At the end of the video, he wants a silhouette of something.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a PG podcast,
Hey, give the man what he wants. That's what I say.
Amen. And last thing is, league play was not mentioned in the blog post on what's coming this week. Oh,
sad.
Yeah.
Who knows? They could surprise us.
Yeah. Why would they ever want to make us happy in advance? That would be way too much to ask for.
Crazy.
No, yeah, but I mean, at this point, we know that season 2 season 2?
Season 1 ends.
Season 1 ends in the end of February.
Which they said will be before season 1 ends.
Yeah. So we know, at least based off of what the intel that we've heard, is that league play is for sure coming before the end of season 1, which ends at the end of February. So worst case scenario, we get it like a week or two after the CDL starts, but that feels so lame.
I know.
And it'll piss me off.
Yeah.
But at least we're getting it during, like early on in the CDL season. And it's going to be like a real league play, hopefully.
It only feels, it's stupid because like BO4 felt like we were getting it so late into the season. That's only because the CoD League started when it should start in December. But now it's like we're not starting till February. So now it feels like, oh, look, it's coming right on time. But like, it's so annoying. Like, that is so lame. That's what the standard is, which drives me crazy. But I don't know. Not ideal. Not ideal.
Not at all.
And then the last piece of news before we get to the Challenger stuff is other hype stuff when it comes to like scrims. New York and Seattle were exchanging 100-point clubs. Like, dude, this is the state of scrims right now.
I know, it's crazy.
Like basically within 3 maps, they'll 100-point club each other.
Yeah.
Depending on the map, and it was just crazy. And then Clay was hyping him up a little bit, talking about how much they were playing well against Thieves, which seems to be a theme for everyone.
Yeah.
And then Paris and Dallas, and but Clay kind of hypes up the things that he's like when they're doing well.
Yeah.
Clay's kind of always that hype guy.
Yeah.
So, but then they absolutely got smoked by Simp.
Oh,
Like,
my word.
what in the world?
23-0
on the Garrison control clip. Yeah, Simp was apparently on a 23-0 streak, and they just ended the game.
That's just so painful. if you're subliners, like,
I mean, that clip looked bad,
dude. Like at that point, like, you send all 4 guys just to kill him. Like, everyone find this guy and kill him, but they couldn't do it.
Well, they couldn't trade to save their lives, just one by one. And also, Simp was snapping.
Yeah.
Still, it's like, let's get 2 people and look over where he, like...
Nothing.
The clip was so funny. I mean, like, they were laughing, like, within the first 4 kills, they were laughing, and he got, like, 12 more.
Yeah.
So it was a really funny clip. And then...
I don't think that would happen in a real league match.
Oh, no chance. No,
I think subliners were, like... probably just weren't feeling it, and then that happened, and they're just like, you know what, who cares?
Just quit.
Yeah. And they knew that thing was going on Twitter.
Yeah, of course.
But Thieves have been getting bodied in scrims lately. Yeah. It's been bad, man. Like, I mean, we all knew that it wasn't going to be good, and they were struggling in scrims up before the kickoff event, but it seems to have gotten worse since the kickoff event.
It's weird that they were picked fourth.
Like, everyone hypes them up because they're the LA Thieves. But it's like, the same OpTic that we had last year.
But I would have thought that, like, they would have, like, at least, like, somewhat picked it based off the scrims previous to the kickoff events.
Which is what everyone said. Yeah, and Hex said the same thing.
Yeah, it's just weird kind of how it kind of fell from that. But I don't know.
Yeah,
like you did say, though, Rex, you know, this is the core OpTic Gaming, which did struggle pretty hard for the first part of the year. So
it kind of that seems to be like the public narrative is that, you know, OpTic Chicago's gonna dominate for the first few months, and then LA Thieves are gonna figure it out because it's slasher type teams. But I saw somebody in the Reddit make a good point that, like, basically, if you look back at all the slasher teams, when they struggled at the beginning of the year, they didn't really start U-turning until they made a roster change of sorts. Like when you know he leaves and makes a roster change for NIW, and then World War II he goes to Rise, and World War II goes to Rise, and then BO4 they add Priesta, Modern Warfare they get Draza and Hollow. So there is like a trend that nothing really changes until a roster change happens.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, that team, I don't know how they stayed together, to be honest. Just because of the struggles they were having, even at the end of the year, you could tell, like, there was just drama just amongst all of them. And I mean, Dashy kind of hints at it. It was like, it was just toxic in there. And the fact that he stayed with that core 3, maybe it's because Thieves picked up that squad and they were probably like wondering if they even have jobs at all.
Right,
and
that was the thing
shot
too.
Comes on and it's like, oh, I'm going to pick all you up. It's like, all right, whatever. We're just going to do it, you know?
Well, yeah, they were in a limbo stage for so long. They weren't able even to, like, really do roster mania, because originally Slasher said that Priesta was set to go there.
Yeah,
but then, because of the issue with the sale to LA Thieves, it delayed them multiple weeks, and then they couldn't announce it. So the opportunity for the Rokkr came up, and Priesta took it. So, I mean, they would have had, you know, Priesta instead of Temp, which I feel like that makes their team pretty dang dangerous. Like, and like I really like what that team would bring to the table. So the question mark is like, who do you think's more likely? Who do you think's the most likely to get changed?
TJ.
Is it TJ or Temp?
TJ for John. I will always fight for John to be in the Pro League. That would be an amazing move.
Yeah, I mean, they've already got Draza as their sub. It doesn't feel likely, though, that Draza would get the shot again, though. I don't know. It felt like they just it's because, like, he was already on the roster, and then he got sold. So LA Thieves was like, sure, whatever. You know?
It depends what they want. But you know, LA Thieves and, like, how they form their cultures it is sort of like a friendship sort of thing that happens there. And with Mud Dog and J-Cap there, it's even more kind of very friendshipy. And Enable, very friendshipy, Oak Boys type of things going on. So I could see John definitely getting in there for TJ. But here's the thing. TJ is close to that Oak Boys circle too.
Yep.
They all like TJ. I don't think they want to get rid of him. And Slasher might be the one to be like, get him out. Temp to maybe. But depends how many feathers they're willing to ruffle, I guess.
Yeah.
But I see TJ as being the number one likely candidate if he doesn't if he doesn't make a U-turn here.
Right. And
we know he can be good, but he just is not being great.
And LA Thieves is not going to put up with being bad for very long.
No.
So
I was going to say, like, they dropped J-Cap last year. Like, they, like, OpTic did with Mud Dogs. So
and then they picked up two AM players.
Yeah, like they are willing.
But I think JCap was willing to drop though.
Well, true.
I think JCap was willing to retire.
He saw the end in sight. He saw the end was near. No,
TJ is still young and should technically be one of your young crack kids.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's not showing that to us so far.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. That is something to keep your eye on. I don't want to tilt too far, though. I mean, again, there's still so much COD to be played. We got to wait to see what happens. And again, it's just scrims at the end of the day. So it's like, there's still a lot of COD to be played. I wouldn't expect any roster change for a while. I mean, it would have to be at least a month down the road, if not 2 or 3. So,
and I'm not even going to take a lot of stock in that CDL kickoff that
no,
they
definitely
played.
not.
Because, I mean, OpTic was trying, and we know that they were really trying. Even in the OpTic podcast, they said they were trying to win that just to make a statement. And Thieves, you cannot tell me they were trying.
I mean, Slasher said they were going to.
Well, they didn't because, or they really need to make some changes because they were making some horrendous mistakes that no pro team should ever be making. For Envoy to be running around in the back like that
for like
is ridiculous.
5 minutes.
They would literally spawn up, know he's there. They just got killed by him and just run away.
Take the long route.
You know he's in your back line. What are you doing, leaving him there?
Yeah, and like that spawn out forces them to play like a long route to the zone still. I don't know why you wouldn't try to hunt him down there. That is,
it wasn't even Envoy being a great play. Like it was Envoy being smart and definitely the right play, but he had no business being back there that long.
No, I'm sure he was probably laughing when it happened. But yeah. So with that said, I think we could probably head into our challengers conversation. So let's get to our we're calling it segment 1 today. Because why not? Segment 1. Let's get it.
I'm exercising my blood right. The challenge for the mantles of King and Black Panther.
You always try to play the win the game around here. So you got to play the win. Challengers, baby. And obviously, again, this is a pretty big week for challengers because we are assuming there's going to be some sort of challengers roster mania going on this week with teams trying to sort to get into a top 32 status to lock themselves in for the chance to get into the Elite Series. So if you guys don't know, we talked about the Elite Series last week, but the Elite Series is the top 8 teams in NA, the top 8 teams in the EU, get their own little mini leagues, basically, and there's going to be multiple stages of each league, and it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
And this weekend is the qualifiers for the Elite Series. The top 32 teams in pro points will get to compete on Saturday. So I think it's locked on Thursday. So once this goes live, we'll have about 48 hours or so, a little bit longer to see what happens with the roster mania of challengers. And basically any of those teams that are hovering right around that top 24 to top 38, 36, top 40 range are going to be trying to finesse to get into that bracket. So it should be wild. And so the question mark will be like, all right, well, what's it going to look like? We're definitely going to talk a whole bunch about challengers and how the qualifiers went on Monday or next Tuesday. And so be on the lookout for that one because it's going to be really spicy. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second here.
It'll be fun.
Let's talk about the Challengers Cup real quick, though, because the 5th one was this weekend. And obviously the headlining news was that the back-to-back champions went down. WestR finished top 16.
Jeez.
They lost to the Slammed roster, which I love that name.
They've been on the rise. Slammed has been on the rise.
Insight, baby. It's Insight, Scrappy, Onyx, and Teskey, and they looked awesome. I mean, again, Insight was the European player. He's currently on Toronto Ultra. He was on Singularity last year and in BO4. And this team, they have been on, like you said, on the rise, and they took down WestR. And that was the big question mark of the weekend is what happened. The Slammed smoked them in S&D and in Control. And my thought is new S&D meta, no snipers, no smokes, and it threw off WestR. I don't know. Is that conspiracy theory? What do you thought?
No, I think it was a huge factor. Many teams form all the strategies around getting that pick with a sniper.
And Paul was so good.
Exactly. So I think trying to rearrange where their placements were without the sniper or smokes I think it's a big deal, and like maybe they just couldn't come up with something that was concrete, and they just kind of fell. So it's going to be an adjustment, I think, for a lot of teams that like just didn't know how to not play with that sniper. So some teams probably never even played with the sniper, or if they did, it was not as beneficial to them as others. So yeah, that sucks for them.
Right.
The question for me is, how'd they get 3-0'd in Control?
No, yeah, that's rare, dude.
In Control, 3-0'd. You at least get one defense. Like, it's... And a team that good, you would expect them to at least be able to take their defenses. But they just got 3-0'd, which is crazy. Slan must have been playing out of their minds. And maybe WestR was being a little complacent. I mean, they just won the last 4 cups. We go into Cup 5.
I would imagine. And they've already secured their positioning for the bracket,
right,
for the qualifications. Like, they know they're going to be in it. So that's the question mark for me. I agree. I think it was probably a little bit of like, okay, it's a new meta. We've already secured our spot in the bracket. Like, we're fine. Let's just get to the Elite Series. But the new meta, I mean, I don't think there's any guarantees for Saturday for anyone.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be wild. I mean, that is going to be like truly to watch is how those S&Ds go down, and hopefully on Saturday, it'll be interesting to see if we can actually see the mini maps or not. But probably not. But
it'd be nice.
Yeah, it'll be really, really fun, man. I'm really looking forward to it. Like, that's the new S&D meta is again gonna be so important to keep out for. And obviously, I think a lot of teams probably learned a lot this week with how the S&D plays. And I'm sure they're gonna go back and watch a lot of film and probably cook up some new strats now with the no smokes, no snipers, because it really changes the game. So
it does, man.
It'll be fun, man.
This could be like a really good thing for them though. Like right before the qualifiers, where they're like, okay, we need to get our butts in gear right now.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably see them top 2.
They're going back to the drawing board. They'll figure it out. I'm sure they're probably just going to fry.
Yeah.
But maybe not, man. I mean, we've seen teams dominate for stretches at points, and then they never figure it out. I mean, think about Singularity last year.
Yeah.
They were dominant for the first half of the year, and then we saw that other teams started to figure certain things out. The meta changed a little bit, and then they never really could get back on top.
No.
So, I mean, maybe that's the same thing for WestR. It'll be interesting to see.
We'll see.
You know?
When you're the best, that you're the team everyone is also looking at, saying, what are they doing? So teams know the most about the best team.
Right.
That's who they watch to learn from and to also just be like, how do we beat them? So there's a lot of people who know a lot about their strategies and how they play.
Yeah, no.
Which is just hard for them.
Yeah, the pack is always trying to bite the heels of the leader, So it's like, that's kind of how it goes. But in other challengers news, John was there. I mean, top 16.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
You'll take it
for coming back off at a year and whatever, how long it was that he was out. Placing top 16, I'm gonna give it to him. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he was playing with Noisy, Gunsy, Mochilla, which was a pretty decent squad. And like when you look at all the teams that finished top 16, you're like, I mean, yeah, that's a pretty stacked challengers bracket. And it would have been cool to see him finish top 8, but 16 for his first one back. I'll take it. Thoughts, Rex?
How well did he play it personally? I wasn't able to see him play, so I don't know how good personally he was.
He looked solid. I wouldn't say I was like blown away. But I mean, he's on a pretty big learning curve right now, considering how little he played in the first few weeks. I think there's still a lot of potential there, and I'm definitely interested to see how he continues to play. And I'm not exactly sure where they sit in pro points or how that team would work out for pro points. He probably desperately needed to finish as high as possible to give him as many pro points as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that'll be interesting.
So he actually has like some bargaining power. Like he already is John, so people might just take a chance on him.
Yeah, but then the other
he
3
has
guys,
no pro points to provide. But now in top 16, he has a little bit, but still not going to be enough for like the rest of these people up there.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so it's like
Mochilla was won the last one?
Yeah, so like, I mean, maybe together they might still be fine. I'd have to go look at the list of the pro points. I don't have it in front of me right now. But I'm sure Chip will find someone who has all the pro
top
points.
6.
Yeah,
Sorry.
top 6. Yeah, Mochilla hasn't won yet.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that. My bad.
But so keep your eye on the pro points aspects of certain squads in the amateur scene, and I need to go find a list of those pro points, and because I'm sure someone's building it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a world where John doesn't get picked up for the qualifiers for the Elite Series?
Yeah, for sure. Because
he just doesn't have the pro points.
I mean, if it drops your team to like the bottom 32, like if let's say you're the Mochila team, and you're like, well, we could play with John, or we could play with someone who has X amount of pro points that would put us like as a top 8 seed versus being like the 32nd or the 26th seed. That could be enough to be a decider. But at the end of the day, you've got to beat the good teams at some point to qualify. Yeah. So maybe it doesn't really matter.
True.
Yeah. I mean, you need to get top 8. Yeah, it might not matter because those top 8 teams are probably going to... I just don't see John being able to get into the Elite Series for this first one at least.
Yeah, so that's what makes it tough. I'm not exactly sure. I wish I had a full-on pro points list in front of me for the players, because that'd be nice. But
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So with that said, others things there. I mean, the winners. I guess we're gonna talk all NA for now. The winners. We didn't even talk about the winners yet. The winners of the NA Cup were the Subliners Academy, which is pretty crazy considering Diamond Con, moved up to the New York starting lineup. And they had to bring in a substitute for that, or a new player in for the academy team. And they brought in GloFrosty, and they come out and win the tournament the following week.
Yep.
So that's really impressive. And GloFrosty looked very, very good throughout the tournament. And for them to win, even after replacing a very good player in Diamond Con, is extremely impressive.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and I really do hope too. It's kind of like a weird thing to take away from it, but like have like your name as Subliners Academy winning it. I really do hope more teams start like investing in academy teams. I don't know. I just feel
especially with the Elite Series this year.
Exactly. Like I feel like it's only good for growth with the teams, but then like also like providing these guys like the opportunity, because I'm sure that you know 2 of them can be signed, or 2 like need to be signed if you're academy team. So like like at least 2 of them are getting good contracts. But I don't know, that it's just cool to see it, and I do hope more investment in the challenger scene is provided, especially if the Elite Series goes like really well too. So I don't know, that was cool to take away from it.
You know what my concern is with like, so you want to do these academy teams, and like that's great, but what if a team's academy team doesn't make it to the Elite Series? Yeah. No org wants to be that org that doesn't have their team in the Elite Series.
Yeah.
Maybe right now it's not going to be as big of a deal because the Elite Series is still so fresh.
That's what I'm
wondering. But to really solidify like the legitimacy of the Elite Series, you want your academy teams in there. And like, so
yeah, I know.
I hope they do something like that where it's like these people can just pick up Elite Series teams with no orgs and call them their academy teams.
Yeah,
because like I mean, let's look at what's the LA Guerillas. Will they make it into the Elite Series?
They'll have a chance to.
Very well not. Yeah. Very well might not get in there.
Oh, for sure.
And like that's gonna suck for them and LA Guerillas as an org, where it's like, wow, we got beat by people whose name is orgless. You know,
right? Oh,
like,
for sure.
That's just gonna be annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is like, will teams then pick up their academy rosters? Like, will it not happen until now? Like once they actually qualify for the Elite Series, then does a team
Top
pick
8,
up an academy roster? So like, let's say for example, like a team like Slammed, they don't have a org, they end up qualifying. Now suddenly does Toronto make that their academy roster? Yeah. And then suddenly now you have an academy team in the Elite Series.
Yeah. I mean they got to make some sort of rule, because can you imagine OpTic? They decided to like invest in the amateur scene, but then they invested in a team that's not making it to the Elite Series. OpTic, especially OpTic of all brands, is going to be pissed. They need to be in the Elite Series.
Oh, for sure.
And so like, it just makes it so like these orgs aren't going to want to invest in the amateur scene if they're not guaranteed a spot in the Elite Series.
Yeah.
So I hope they find some way to make that work for everybody.
It'll be interesting. I think it's fairly likely that we might actually see some more amateur teams, become academy teams next week. So that'll be interesting to keep your eye out for as well. In the EU scene, the Vamos, the EU champions were Lucky Journey Medals and in oh my word, it's blocked. It's blocked. I can't see it.
Nvidian.
It's
Thank
fucked.
you.
It's fucked.
I couldn't see it.
The
Lucky Journey,
Spain.
Nvidia, and Medals. Yeah. The Spanish squad came out through. Medals back on top again, back in the scene. Of course, Journey and Lucky, they've been doing their thing, and Nvidia as well. So that was a really interesting thing inside the European scene as well. There hasn't been as much consistency in the European scene as I thought there was going to be originally.
Yeah.
With who would be on top and how that could play out. But they looked really good. I was watching some of that stream, of course, from Infinity streaming that on his channel. And that looked it was really, really fun COD to watch. Of course, the S&Ds, they don't show the S&Ds, which is so annoying. But in the respawns, at least, they looked really good. So, no, it was cool. I mean, did you guys get a chance to watch much of the European stuff? It was a little bit earlier in the day, so.
Not much for me.
Yeah, it was unfortunate.
I didn't really watch any, but I love to see that a Spanish team is the one who's making it out on top, and you especially see Medals, Lucky, Journey. Like, we know these players' names, and they're not like your typical like London, Scotland, like Europe.
Yeah,
but they're like from Spain, where we have no orgs in Spain, and hopefully that brings some encouragement to get some Spanish orgs in the scene because they have some good players there.
Yeah, what's crazy is that the Rams team that was representing them is from Luxembourg. So they aren't even a Spanish team.
There you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was pretty crazy. But yeah, the second place team was the Obtained Esports team.
Which they were top 5, I think, last cup, weren't they?
Yeah. And, again, that was the Hixie, Harry,
Hixie
Callum,
squad.
and BB Connor. So it's like, it's crazy to see that a guy like Hixie, who no one knew of until the scouting series, that he's legitimately making waves now, which is pretty crazy that it actually worked for him, which is pretty cool.
Scouting series not a total failure.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't as much as people thought it was. And then Team Singularity was third, and then we had Hydra's squad in fourth. Henry, Hydra, K's, and Whalers again there. So some interesting teams there as a whole. Interesting that Hydra is top 4. It would be pretty cool to see Hydra like win, and like the hype of Hydra coming into like New York again would have been pretty fun. But maybe that happens in the future here. It'll be cool to see how their Elite Series works out as well with the top 8 teams. Because again, like for example, like Afro's team, finished top 8 on this right here on the fringe there. Mm-hmm. You got some pretty good squads that are right on that edge of top 8. So that'll be a pretty tough qualifier as well, even in the European side of things. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out.
I got to go back and see some Hydra VODs because I'm really curious about how good he actually is. So if I can see him on good ping in the European scene, just to see how he moves, how he shoots, you could tell a lot about a player sometimes.
Oh, for sure. And then APAC Renegades, they're back on top. So nothing too crazy there. We're giving him, at least more airtime than what the CDL gives them by saying just those 3 words. But Renegades, Fata Luca, Pred, Shocks, looking good per usual. And then they were playing against the Chiefs Esports Club, which was the Swifty, Crimsa, Setsi, and Zapa squad. So that was a really fun match to watch as well. I went and watched that one with Shift, and that was really nice. So with that said, I think we can get into the hype of the show, which is our top 10 most underrated Call of Duty pros. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's go. The top 10 most underrated Call of Duty pros. So obviously we got to have a little bit of groundwork here, because the interesting thing about doing a segment on most underrated pros is that is sort of based on the opinions of the people. That if a player can be incredible, but if people think he's incredible, then he's not underrated. He could be trash, but people think he's trash, so he's not underrated. Yes. He could be trash, but people think he's extremely trash, which means he's underrated.
Yes.
So it all just depends on your perspective.
Correct.
So that's why this is interesting. So we're going to have, when we go through this, we're going to go one by one. Like, you'll give an underrated player, and we'll be like, oh yeah, he was on my list too, or things like that. And we'll go around the board here, a little round robin situation.
Yes. And
have some fun with that one. And again, so you're gonna have to set the ground for why you believe this player's market value might be a little bit underrated, and you can maybe even give a scale about like how underrated he might be. Maybe you're like, oh, this guy is somewhat underrated, or this guy is like egregiously underrated. Like, it makes me mad inside that people don't think this guy is good. So wherever you're at with it, fire away.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, Rex, you can lead us off today. Today, you're the Ichiro Suzuki of our team. You can lead us off. Sam, you're on deck.
Okay.
That's a baseball reference. It's a baseball reference.
Sports.
What in
I only
the
played
world?
Ichiro.
Call of Duty.
Ichiro.
DraftBuff.
Facts.
DraftBuff.
Well, I'm going to start off with an easy one. Clayster, obviously.
Oh, really?
So here's the thing. People be like, no one underrates Clayster. We know he's a 3-time champ, yada, yada. No, you underrate him based on we're just looking at pure gun skill. Let's take out merit and everything out of it. Based on pure gun skill and just like
you're talking to
talent
me.
he has as a player,
Talking to you.
Clayster is not somebody who anybody can just bully. He's not just like, he just wins all the time because he's just got this great mind. He does have a great mind and he does win, but Clayster actually can shoot back and he has gun skill. And that's the part that irks me, is like people just like discredit him as if like he can't get kills on the map, which he can. I think he, for the most part, will go positive, and he'll always hold spawns. He knows what he's doing. That's one that always irks me, is people act like Clayster can't shoot back, but he just wins. But he can. He can shoot back.
But in the OpTic Scrim, formal bodied Clayster.
Nah, dude, don't even go there with me.
I did see that comment a few times in the tier ranking
Even on
video.
Dallas Empire, like Clayster was arguably getting more kills and damage than Crimsix was getting. And then even in this game too, you look at their scrims and stuff, Clayster is on the top of the board with damage output, the kills that he's getting. It just doesn't, I don't understand why people just discredit that part of him.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, let's do a scale. On a scale of 1 to 10, how underrated do you believe Clayster is? Oh, you can't hear us.
No, I'm back. We're here.
Oh, jeez. I was like,
So, on a scale of 1 to 10 then, so let's do this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how overrated or underrated do you believe Clayster, how underrated do you believe Clayster is?
I think Clayster is underrated by, I'll go 5.
So he's
I don't-
moderately underrated.
Moderately underrated.
Okay, all right, that's
I'm
fine.
not saying he's the best AR in the game.
Yeah.
But he's not somebody like, he can fight with the best of them.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
You
Interesting.
can't bully him.
Yeah, Sam?
Interesting.
Who do you got? Who's someone on your board? Did you have Clayster on yours?
No.
I don't have Clayster on mine either.
No.
So maybe that means he's underrated.
Maybe it is.
He is underrated. You guys just gloss him over.
I don't. I think he's a fantastic player.
Gun skill wise.
I think he's a great
He
teammate.
is?
Gun skill wise.
Yeah, Josh thinks he's a great teammate. And he is a great teammate. But his skill, baby, like I'm talking about just skill. People act like that's just not part of the equation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I
All
feel
right,
ya.
Sammy. Who you got?
One of the guys that immediately popped in my mind was Classic.
Same, I have him on my
really?
list.
I think he is underrated. I think he's had some average placings coming off of Modern Warfare, Black Ops 4 a little bit too. Although
He has an impressive resume.
yeah, he's got a great resume. They did win. Was it Fort Worth in Black Ops 4 with the
The Rampart.
Rampart? That's what it was. God bless the Rampart is
I
what
forgot to
he
switch the
said.
screens here.
Oh, but yeah, no, I do think he's one of those guys that just flies under the radar. He's not flashy. He's not going to be like your high KD, Slayer, right? But I do think he's one of those players that can bring a lot of invaluables, but also too, like, I was impressed. You looked at his gameplay last year; he was actually holding his own.
No, especially early in the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was really surprised when they kind of kept taking him off. I do know there was that like kind of weird situation where like he like left
when he
or
had the family situation.
Yes.
He had to leave, yeah.
but I don't know. Maybe he's not like entirely like underrated.
Yeah.
but
What's your scale here?
I would say he's probably. I feel like 6.
Okay, that feels fair.
Yeah, I feel like a 6 out of 10. Like he's not to the point where he's just like god tier player that like no one wants him. But I think that he's a name that people forget and they shouldn't, because his like resume is outstanding. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree with Sam on that front. I honestly would be willing to push that up to even like a 7.
Oh, wow.
I think he's a solid player. I think like you said, he holds his own. He's never like a detriment to his team. And he only provides value. It's not like a simp level value, but he always provides value.
Yeah, no, for sure. I had some struggles with trying to figure out where I wanted to go with the underrated pros. I was bouncing between a few guys, and I have like a lengthy honorable mentions list as well.
Yeah.
The first guy that I mentioned that I have on the list, I'll be interested to see if you guys have him, is Cammy.
Oh,
he's on my list here. I was hard for me. I was trying to gauge like what did the people think about Cammy, and I'm like, I mean, we've seen at moments last year the hype was there for Cammy. I mean, we were like, maybe at that point he was a little bit overrated. Like people were like, yo, Cammy's a top 10 player. Like when I did a tier ranking video, people were like, yo, Cammy should be on fringe S tier. I'm like, whoa, what? But now I feel like people are like, okay, Cammy's, it's not it anymore. And he seems to be kind of slipping down the boards, but I think Cammy brings a lot to a team.
Yeah.
And how he plays, of course, without sniping right now, it's a little bit tougher because I loved how he sniped last year. And I was really excited to see him sniping this year. So it was a shame that we're not going to get a chance to see that right now. But man, I love how that Toronto team plays. And Cammy was such an integral part of that team and how they played, especially in Search and Destroy. And I just think overall, if on the scale of 1 to 10, I'd put him around, I think it's a little bit less, maybe like a 4 underrated. Like it's not like a drastically underrated situation, but moderately underrated as well with Cammy, and a guy that I think is just a really good player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see your point. I don't have him on my list. Like that whole Toronto Ultra team, for at least right now, it seems like a question mark.
For sure.
And like just because that kickoff was so just like, what just happened? You were expecting your Kleenex and Cammys to just go like,
and it was Bance
firing in all cinders, but it was Bance, and Cammy and Kleenex were kind of in the background.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So like that kind of maybe even like made me go slightly lower, be like, you know what, maybe he's not underrated. But I see where you're coming from. He has the potential to explode.
Oh yeah, it was definitely unfortunate that we're losing the snipers and S&D. Because that's where, I mean, Cammy's been shining in his career. So we'll see. I think in the future, it could get pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So with that said, Rex, get your next guy up, baby.
I will say, I mean, I have a few names. Like, are we considering Bance underrated right now? His stock just rose.
I mean, it depends how high you think of him.
Off of the CDL kickoff. And like, I think I don't think he's going to be
he was to the moon stock.
That high of levels gameplay, but I think he's going to be better than he was in Modern Warfare. I think he's going to be a lot better than he was in Modern Warfare.
Yeah, I mean, the kickoff event, Bance, he sprung onto the scene.
He kicked off.
He left. Oh, he kicked off. He left an impression on all of us. That's for sure. So the question is, I don't know if he necessarily qualifies as underrated, though. At least.
Yeah, because it was just like one thing, and like his stock just skyrocketed. So it's like, is this underrated now because of one event? We're kind of just going like,
I mean, it really all comes down to what you believe about Bance. If you believe Bance could be like a top 20 player in the CDL, then he's definitely underrated. If you think Bance is only like if Bance is barely a top 30 player in the CDL, then probably not. So
Bance is just a question mark for me. I'll go with my other choice, Pristini.
Yeah.
So Pristini, I'm more confident in
he's
my
on my
underrated
list too.
value. Pristini, you can watch the search. Pristini is going to be their guy who's going to have to get kills on the map and like have a little bit of weight on his shoulders. And he was able to do that starting the second map of their CDL kickoff. The first map was atrocious. I don't know what happened there. He must have still had crust in his eyes from waking up or something, because like that was so bad.
Yeah.
And like I was like, we got inconsistent Pristini here. But then after that, he was like soaring and flying. And then when watching scrims, he continues to still play at that same level. I think he's going to provide a lot for that Seattle Surge team. And I don't think people give Pristini that credit because he's always overshadowed by these other great players. But I think Pristini can make a mark.
Yeah, no.
This year, I think he can make a mark.
I agree. I feel like I'm a culprit of underrating him, and even in my like tier rankings video, I saw people like, "Yo, Pristini is not like second lowest tier, or whatever." I'm like, man, I definitely want to see more. I mean, I was rating directly in Black Ops 4, like solely off, not solely, but based on like if we were having a tournament today, that's what I was ranking off of. But no, yeah, I think in like the public eye right now, it's like there's the people who love Pristini, and he's a top 15, 20 player in their eyes. And there's like those people are like love Pristini. Then there's the people who are on the complete opposite side and think Pristini blows. He's terrible.
Right.
And then and it's like I think the overall community balance, it's tough to gauge on what Pristini is. But I do agree that I think Pristini is underrated overall.
If he can get a grip on like how his consistency, then he'll be really good. Like we've seen him when he's like playing in his peak form, like when he's in the zone, I guess. Oh yeah, he's really, really good.
So that's the thing. When he catches fire, he's great.
Yeah, but now I think he's in a team where he's going to be more allowed to do that because he has to be sort of the one to do that.
For sure.
Whereas when you're playing with OpTic, you have Envoy and Scump who they're just going to overshadow you, and like you're going to have to play a different like OBJ role because they're going to be doing what they're going to be doing. Whereas now he has this chance to slay out more, and maybe he can shine.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I didn't have him on here because like you said, it's kind of hard to gauge him because there's people that love him. But there's people that
the skills everywhere.
Yeah. So I didn't have him on there just because, I didn't have him on there, but I do agree.
Ooh. Then who you got on there?
So then who I got in here is someone that's going to be.
Wait. What's your scale of 1 to 10 for Pristini?
Yeah.
Mine, I'll say I'm going to go big at 6.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Sam, I had to cut you off.
No, you're good. One person I think is just going to be underrated just because of the situation is Major Maniac.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have him on my list.
Yeah. So Major Maniac was the 5th man on FaZe. He was the 5th guy you thought of when you thought of FaZe.
And the main AR for half the year. Like
yes. So like really like he didn't technically have to do too much on the map to like play his role well.
No, he was basically route man.
Yes.
Playing for spawns. And then like locking down lines of sight with the AR, like the M4.
Correct.
It was a boring role.
Yes.
But S&D
though. So I think 44 on the Rokkr, we're going to see some really good stuff out of him. I think people aren't going to be putting like a whole lot of stock into him just because, again, like the main FaZe core is still there. He left. Nothing really happened to FaZe.
Yeah.
However, you got to remember him on Gen G in Black Ops 4. He was like part of the reason why that roster was so good.
Yeah, agreed. A big reason.
Yeah. So I think like he's just naturally going to be underrated going into this year. And so I honestly think like I think he's going to be like 7 underrated.
Oh, no.
7 out of 10.
I'm sad you stole my thunder. Because I was going to go to town with Major Maniac. He is a 9.4 underrated.
Okay.
9.4 underrated. He is very underrated.
Yeah.
Because I agree.
Yeah.
Like the value he brings, I mean, especially in S&D is like legit some of the best in all of the CDL. And when it comes to like his communication and search and destroy, how he calls plays, and like I feel like I love how patiently he plays inside of S&D, and like he's such an interesting player in S&D, and we even saw that in the kickoff event. I know the S&D was really weird in the kickoff event, but Major Maniac played very, very well, and we saw it all of last year. He had one of the best KDs season long in S&D last year out of anyone in the CDL, and was such an important part to FaZe's success when they were very, very good at S&D, which was most of the year. And so I 100% agree, dude. Major Maniac, very underrated. Very underrated. Rex, thoughts?
I don't know if I put him at 9.9.
9.4.
There's 9.4. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm even lower than Sam. I'm sitting around 5.
Wow.
Like you said, he has the potential to explode, but like the team around him, I just am curious about how that's going to play into it. Like he has players like Priesta, Attach, and then he has Accuracy looking over his shoulder. How that's going to affect how he's going to be able to play.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just wondering if he's going to be able to mesh weld into that, especially when they start playing these higher level teams.
That's fair.
But we'll see. He's a bit of a question mark for me, but I think he could be underrated.
Yeah. No, I could see that one. So my next one I got this was an interesting one because I know like right now people are very low on him as a whole, and reasonably so for the situation that he's in. But again, we saw glimpses of his dominance last year, especially in S&D with the hype that this player created in Search and Destroy. But we're still waiting to for sure see it. I mean, especially in Respawn last year, there were question marks. But I think at this point, Skrapz is underrated. I think he's underrated.
Are we on the same page here, Sam?
I feel like he's kind of right. You
Correctly rated?
Yes. But like you should give your reasoning though.
So I know there were struggles last year in Respawn, but I think that was more of like a London situation than it was like they were just so inconsistent in the Respawn game as a whole. Moving into 4v4 back into 4v4 this year, I'm very excited for Skrapz. And like as the season progresses, I could see Skrapz turning into a force on the map with guys like Fire overlooking his shoulder. Ooh, Skrapz could be doing some dirty things. And I'm interested to see, man. I really like that Paris roster at this point now, and like the potential that Skrapz brings. And again, in Search and Destroy last year, Skrapz, broke out. He was like a breakout player last year in Search and Destroy, where in his career he really struggled. Last year he was very, very good. And so if he keeps that up and can rebound his Respawn game in any way, at that point he'll be incredibly underrated. And so right now it's moderately underrated because it hasn't been proven yet. But I'm kind of putting my faith in Skrapz on this one, and I believe that he is going to be underrated. I'm feeling it with Skrapz. So I'll put like a 4, moderately underrated, but like there's potential for him very quickly to become very, very underrated.
Yeah, I can see that. Like,
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I think Skrapz could be overrated.
This is a market value thing too, though.
I mean, he has market value for sure.
Yeah.
I get, and I don't have, prefaces like I don't have a lot of like scrim VOD of him, and it could be recency bias from the CDL kickoff, but he was the weak link on his team. I mean, I was not expecting Skrapz to be the weak link on that team. If anything, I was expecting it to be Fire or Aqua, and it was Skrapz, and I think it was scrapped by a lot. Like I feel like if somebody else would have gone in and played a little bit better, Paris would have been able to win that a little more easily. So I'm still not high on Skrapz. Then with Modern Warfare last year, he had his moments, but
I get that.
Quite what I would like to see. So I'm not super high on Skrapz right now.
I get it.
It could happen. I could be proven wrong.
I get it, but like at the same time, it was like just one map, at the end of the day. So that's kind of my thing. So that's why I'm kind of like on the fence with it, or not on the fence, but like not like a high underrated number here on the scale. But I don't know. I think Skrapz could be up. I still think Skrapz could be fantastic this year as the season moves along. And he did not. I agree that he did not play well in the kickoff event, but that's why the public opinion is too swayed negatively right now, and Skrapz is going to bounce back.
All right, I can get behind that. There's just not a lot of information other than what we saw last year and then what we saw at the kickoff event, and it was just questionable.
Yeah, but I mean, again, in S&D, he was very good last year, so there is that. But all right, Rex, who you got?
Another person? It's hard because like some of these people I really respect and like. So like Apathy, are we underrating Apathy? He was not great, obviously, last year.
I think there's an argument for it, but people do love Apathy.
We know Apathy's past. He's gone donk mode. Like he's been super, 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 super good. And like Apathy this year could be that Apathy again. And we saw glimpses of it at the CDL kickoff. And I think we have back in a way. I feel like it's coming back. And people are kind of like almost being like, well, now he has a kid and he's all these other things. And like maybe he just can't. He's just not there anymore. But I don't think that's true. I think he could bounce back and be the app we know from Black Ops 3.
Yeah. I mean, think about how good Scumps looked in the past, week or two. And, I mean, Apathy's like a year older than Scump. So it's not like any realistic massive difference in age or anything. Like people see Apathy just because he's graying a little bit, a little early age grading, nothing wrong with that. Yeah. And people are like, this guy's ancient. Yeah. But like, he's like the same age as Scump. He's younger than Crim, younger than Clay. Like, it is interesting. So I there is upside for Apathy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's underrated, like in the public opinion. That's my kind of where I'm not sure.
I don't know. People don't really want to talk about him so much anymore, but like, he's really, really good, and he's gonna be the carry for that LA Guerillas squad, and he might be able to just pull it off, the carry. So I feel like Apathy's underrated, just because people are just deciding to kind of forget about him after like last year. And people just don't want to think about him anymore. But I think he deserves to be thought about because I think he's going to be really, really good.
No, yeah, that makes sense. So what's your scale then?
4.
Okay, another 4. All right, we're really rolling with the 4s here. Yeah. How many more do you guys have on your list? Because I'm actually out.
I've got 2 more, but I'm not, one for sure, but then one I've kind of
give us the for sure one then.
Okay. I think this player, and I may get some disagreements. I don't know. Methods, I think, is underrated as a main AR.
Okay. Yeah.
I think
there is like a public he plays too slow.
Yes.
People in the public think he's the worst AR.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like part of
maybe not.
Like
him or Salt.
Not the worst, but like also too like maybe his like Twitter interactions between like just kind of being like jokey, like maybe he doesn't care enough anymore. But
discredits him.
But one thing I think for sure going into 4v4, people forget how good he was in World War II.
For sure.
He won MVP with Rise. I mean that's
But he got carried by Rise.
It was a slow game too.
He was carried by Rise.
You could say that.
That's not me saying that. That's the people.
Them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I feel.
You feel.
I feel.
You feel methods inside you.
Yes.
I wish.
Gosh. Anyways, I think one of the main reasons why Toronto Ultra came back last year was because of Method's AR ability.
He did look really good in the second half of the year, especially.
Yeah, he looked really good in the second half. And I think he will have more of an impact with the 4v4.
He has been a little bit underwhelming so far, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why he's underrated.
Yeah, it could be.
That's the same thing.
For my scale, I'd probably say 3, like 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Like not very
Pretty
underrated. But I think he's one of those dark horses that like could potentially bring Ultra to like a top 5 team, honestly.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that.
I actually kind of agree with that.
Yeah, so do you want to throw out a few more like honorable mentions at least, and maybe we can talk about one or two of them if any of them stick?
Yeah. I mean, I'll throw one out.
Okay.
Parasite.
I think people are going to eat up. I think Scump might be a little underrated right now.
Oh.
I mean,
I feel like, obviously, it's hard to say Scump underrated because
by
everyone
non-OpTic fans
loves Scump. By non-OpTic fans, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
Scump might be considered.
That's what you'd have to say.
Yeah,
overrated.
You have to say non-OpTic fans because OpTic fans love Scump.
Yeah, right. And I try to be like, stay out of. I try to keep it somewhat clear. But Scump, I think, is upped his game since Modern Warfare.
Oh, I mean, that's true.
Looking at him now and the way he's playing now, it's like, wow, he seems to have more of a grip on things and has more of a solid foundation just with the team and what's going on at OpTic right now. Scump is playing way better and way more just like technically sound Call of Duty than he did last year, even years in World War II even. He just seems like it's just more almost like professional now. Like he likes his team, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it just ups his game, and I feel like he's gonna be nasty.
I did, the tier rankings video I put out. I had him in the A tier, which is the second tier, which makes him a top 16 player.
Yeah.
I mean, like last year he was like a fringe top 16, top 20 guy, but like now he is. I mean, in my mind, he's solidified himself inside the top 16.
Yeah.
And realistically, if I was making a top 15 list or top 20 list, he'd be probably somewhere around like 10 to 12 right now. He's like a legitimately really good player right now. Like he's looking really good.
I could see him breaking into that top 10 range. It's hard to keep up with people like Shotzi and Simp. I don't know if he can get to those levels, but he does have a brain for Call of Duty. He just has this like natural, gifted,
back to 4v4
God-given talent and hard work that he's put in to get there. That he could really pull something amazing off. Honestly,
yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's just the OpTic fans hyping it up, but like, I mean, some people. It feels like public opinion has him as like a top 10 locked and loaded player right now. But then again,
they always do every single week. Even when he's not, people do. But I'm being genuine. But I really think he could be a really good player this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think non-OpTic fans see Scump as like a 20th ranked player, something right around there. But I do agree that he's definitely better than that.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I do agree that he could be underrated. Thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, I agree. With the caveat of the non-OpTic fans.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because in that market value, he's
sky
premium value.
Yeah.
Premium value there.
Well, Scump's number one.
Bullish.
He's obviously the best in the game.
Yeah,
let's be
100%.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that is interesting. I mean, the whole OpTic wave, the wave of OpTic, like the unstoppable tide of OpTic fans.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely, like, since I made the tier ranking video, I cardinal sin that Dashy and Formal were not in the S tier.
How dare you?
My bad, guys.
Yeah.
My bad. The cardinal sin. Probably going to hell because of that.
Yeah.
But it is tough. So I mean, the more you watch OpTic, the more you're like, I mean, they're good. Like that's undeniable. They're definitely. I mean, right now, I think you've got to say they're the top 2 team with them and Empire probably. Again, We'll see though. CDL Atlanta.
We'll see what happens with FaZe.
Yeah, they're gonna be playing against FaZe, so we'll see.
We'll see.
But it is tough. It is interesting, and right now their whole roster could be underrated from non-OpTic fans, or they could be very overrated by all the OpTic fans, depending on how they end up playing these few weeks here. So it is pretty interesting. Other guys, Gunless came to mind that like people have like bodied Gunless in their heads.
Yes.
So like, but like he really hasn't. He hasn't really shown it yet this year, so like that's the problem. But like if you base the Gunless off of the IW and World War II Gunless and the potential that he could have, it's like it's endless. But I mean,
Black
last year,
Ops 4. Do you remember his
he was
Maddox?
insane in Black Ops 4 at
one point. He was the best player in the game
for a little bit.
Yes, it was crazy. But then he fell off, obviously.
And then Simp existed.
Yes.
And so like that's the thing. So Gunless came to mind. Attach came to mind as well. That people are like, but I feel like he's kind of like correctly rated. Like people like Attach. They see him as a good player.
I think so too.
I do too. That I almost put Attach, but like Attach is Attach. Attach has always been Attach. He's consistent. He's good, but he's nothing more. Like no one ever thinks he's less than what he is or more than what he is.
I also almost put Priesta, 3 of the 4 Rokkr guys on the list.
Yeah.
That was another guy that came to mind. Anybody else come to mind for you guys?
The only kind of fun one I had was a point in time. World War II Chino was massively underrated. Massively.
True.
He got dropped from that TK
right
squad.
now. What do you mean?
I know. I just wanted to bring this up because he got dropped from that TK squad after winning the event.
Dude.
And it was just it was mind blowing. Like I get that he was slow, but he was a good player.
They just won.
Yeah, literally.
Can you believe
no
that
sense.
Chino in theory were teaming and won a tournament?
It's crazy.
Like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, 2.5 years ago.
And Kenny was on that team too.
Yeah, it's a crazy team, man.
Smart players, man.
It's wild. But I think that'll basically do it for today. The final segment that I wanted to implement today was kind of just a casual. I'm gonna have a drop for it.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. Not this week. I won't have a drop for it, but in the future I will. And the drop is, what are you watching this week? What's something that you're excited to watch this weekend? It could be COD related. It could be not COD related. It could be both.
Yeah.
But what's on your mind? I'll go first. Obviously, the Super Bowl is this weekend. I am hyped. I am beyond hyped. I don't care who wins. I'm looking forward to both. Chiefs, Bucks, either way, hyped. What am I watching right now? WandaVision. I'm watching WandaVision. I'm excited for WandaVision. It's been a good time. That's what I'm watching. Rex, what are you watching?
I mean, I've been rewatching Game of Thrones.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Okay.
I love Game of Thrones. I shouldn't even say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. I never watched the last season.
Oh.
So now I'm, yes. So I took like a hiatus until like, I don't know, a month or so ago, and I'm starting to rewatch them again.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty far into it, but I'm pretty excited to get there. I don't know the spoilers for the last season yet.
Ooh.
Wow.
No one
That's
say anything in
impressive.
the comments.
That was ballsy, yo.
Dirty people.
Rex will not be looking at the comments
That's
for this episode.
impressive considering like the amount of like just
I
news
think
that
I know
generated.
that. I don't even watch Game of Thrones, and I
That's
think I know the
impressive, Rex,
spoilers.
that, like you don't know the spoilers.
Right. No, yeah, I don't know how it ends. I don't know what happens. There's one thing that I know.
All I know is that
but
you're
I'm
gonna hate
I'm not
it.
gonna say it.
Because that's all I know.
I know everyone's telling me that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm scared.
I hated it.
All right, Sam,
I'll make
what's
that
on your
decision for
radar?
myself.
I just found Narcos,
Oh,
so I am watching.
just going through it for the first time.
Yeah, so second season right now
I've seen
for
like
me.
1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, very good. Pedro Pascal
Yeah.
is a
Mando.
phenomenal
Hashtag
actor.
Mando.
Yes,
Oberyn Martell.
yes, over on
He's
Game
also
of
in Game of
Thrones.
Thrones.
Yes, so
Mhm.
that's what I'm watching. I've been pretty addicted to it this past week, so it's really good.
Heck yeah.
Highly recommend.
That was our What Are You Watching This Week segment.
Yeah, that was
our
fun.
first premiere.
I like that.
And we'll have some sort of fun drop for in the future. But if you guys enjoyed this episode
Attack
of the
on
podcast,
Titan's last season's out. You guys should check out Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is one of the greatest TV shows you'll ever watch. If it's anime, some of you guys don't like anime, give it a
Where's
shot.
the mute button?
It is
Where's
so
the
good,
button?
guys. Attack on Titan
Button.
is so good with an amazing story. Check it out.
Button,
Sponsored to you by
guys.
Crunchyroll.
Yeah, what in the world? Also,
amazing.
DraftBuff again. Of
Thank you.
course, go to Twitter, sign up for the Listener League,
Mhm.
and do your best entries. We'll be talking about it and picking the best creative entries and 3 at random using the hashtag again. And there's a link down below to join DraftBuff and sign up for the Draft Royale that we're doing as well. So if you don't get into the Community League, you can at least get into the Draft Royale and compete against us there. But it should be a blast, guys. And our giveaway ends next week as well for the CDL merch. We got 2 giveaways going on this week, so it's a whole hassle. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. If you guys did, like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you guys really enjoyed it. Drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And as always, guys, I'm your boy, SalvationsElite. To my right is Bash_Bo3 Sam. And to our farthest right, per usual, is Rex, ShadyNero. And guys, this has been the best of 3 Call of Duty Esports Podcasts. And guys, we will see you next time. We out.